through Ignatius Loyola as a Jesuit.
That's
You know,
right.
so he was a Jesuit before the Jesuit order was even established. But they had the same order going from back then. They just named it Jesuit order during the time of Ignatius Loyola
Right.
and Francis Borgia. I believe his name is Francis Borgia, which he was a contemporary that helped to set up the Jesuit order. So Columbus was a learned devil, you know. That's why he knew what to do. That's why when he came over here, there was a point where the Israelites that were here, they were just cutting him off. They was about to roll on his ass. But he told them that that the sun was going to be covered, or it was either a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse that was coming, and he knew about it previously, you know. So when he told them about it, then they got scared, you know, because they were superstitious and they backed off, and they didn't do nothing to him. But if it hadn't been for that, his ass was grass. But that was a law, because that devil had to be preserved, because he had to bring the calamities that are written in the book of Hosea that came to Israel over here on this side of the world. You got more?
It says Cologne had access to the Vatican archives, which contain records of Viking voyages over a period of several centuries, probably including the original of the famed Vinland map of Yale University has a 20th century copy. It also indicated that Pinzon had obtained from Rome information about lands to the west of the Atlantic.
See, basically, they knew over there in the east, over there in Europe, in Rome and throughout, they knew that it was a world over here or land over here.
That's
the thing is, it never was inhabited before until the tribes came over here.
That's right.
They were the first to inhabit it.
Yep.
Going all the way back, when you go in the Bible, in the scriptures, King Solomon, his fleet, Hiram Abiff and his navy, they were coming over here getting certain things from over here. So
That's right.
there was always, they knew about this world over here.
That's
See, a
right.
lot of you guys out there, you probably still believe that they thought the world was flat.
Yep.
Columbus knew that the world was round. He knew it was another land over here. There was Vikings that were voyaging over here. Like some of them
They were
stories,
Jakes. The
which
Vikings
were
were
Jakes. A lot of them stories you hear about their voyages over here. All right. You see, and the reason why they put all that propaganda, because they're trying to hide the truth. Because you start researching and finding these things out about Columbus, you're gonna find out what about the other tribes.
You're gonna start asking questions.
You'll start asking questions. And now on Columbus, and it's in the records, on his ship, he had a Moor, which was really an Israelite, a so-called Negro that converted into Islam.
Yep.
Okay, that's who the Moors were. He had a Moorish navigator, all right, who knew how to get over here to this side of the earth. Okay, he knew what he was doing. All right, he went and got basically a Jew, a real Jew, that Moorish navigator, to bring him over here to where the other tribes were, because Judah and them, they knew that the other tribes had left and set off to go over here. All right, that's why. And if I can read this real quick,
Bring it out.
real quick in the book of James. I mean, it's something that we always read, you know.
Overlooked this, man. I should have brought this.
But James,
Bring it up.
James chapter 1 verse 1. It says, James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushai, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting.
Right.
And now that word abroad ties in with the word diaspora in the Greek. All right?
That's right.
Because the tribes, they were dispersed, which was pursuant to the prophecy when you go back going back to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. The Lord said he was going to basically scatter or disperse the tribes through the four corners of the earth. And that's how that came about during that time period. All right? And Columbus knew about that. Everybody knew about that.
Of course. Because you know what? This information about the Americas, you're talking about 400 and maybe 20 years before Columbus came over here.
Right.
The information existed going back to 1070 AD, dealing with the Leif Erikson and the Vikings coming over here to the Americas, because they had established trade routes with the Native American Indians, and they had established trade over here, and they mapped America out. And these maps are known as the Piri-Reis maps. You can look it up. They're called the Piri-Reis maps, and those were the maps that Columbus had access in the Vatican Library. I got one more thing. It says here,
I just want to read this real quick.
Go ahead,
though,
brother. Go ahead.
Back up Elder Menazek, what he was saying.
Go ahead.
This is Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 7 to 9. We have dealt very corruptly against thee, and have not kept the commandments, nor the statutes, nor the judgments which thou commandest thy servant Moses. Remember, I beseech thee, the word that thou commandest thy servant Moses, saying, if you transgress, I will scatter you abroad among the nations.
Hey, that's it right there.
That's right.
And that's what the Lord said. Going back to Deuteronomy, the Lord said, if you break these laws, I'm going to scatter you amongst all the other nations.
That's right.
So how did that take place? By the Lord putting the spirit on the other tribes to leave from their captivity in the land of Assyria to come over here to what's now called America,
Right.
or the United States, the Western Hemisphere.
To set it up for the deliverance at the end of days. Now this is verse 9. But if you turn unto me and keep my commandments and do them, though they were of you cast out unto the uttermost parts of the heaven.
The uttermost parts of the heaven. Now, it's not, if you're over there in the Middle East, would not America be the uttermost parts
right.
of the heaven?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
It says, the uttermost part, let me read that again. Though they be whereof you cast out unto the uttermost part of the heaven, yet will I gather them from thence, and will bring them unto my place that I have chosen to set my name there. That's pretty much it.
That's it. That's heaven.
So, you got that other point.
Now on page 139 it says this, furthermore, studies by the Norse author Carey Pritz and by such American scholars as James Enterline and Paul Chapman indicate that Cologne had access to a number of maps reflecting transatlantic voyages over a period of several centuries. The existence of the American continent was known throughout Europe, certainly as early as 1070 AD. And that's around the time when the Vikings were making their voyages over here to the Americas. And they mapped out America, North America and Central and South America was already mapped out.
That's right.
So Columbus knew when he came over here, he knew the land that he was coming over here to.
That's right. And if I could just say this real quick too, and then in 1421, because you had the Moabites that started coming over here in about the 1400s. 1421, there's an actual map of Moab that came over to the side of the world at that time, around the 1400s, 1421, which is another map that Columbus had, that he used, that they knew that there were people and lands on this side of the earth. So go ahead, is there more?
It says, certainly as early as 1070 AD, from the writings of historian Adam of Bremen, commerce continued with Norway and Iceland and with Bristol in England and America by the end of the 15th century. Europe was ready to develop the lands that lay beyond the Atlantic. So that's pretty much it on that right there.
Yeah, the lands that lay beyond the Atlantic.
That's right.
Because they already knew that this land over here was here. It just some of them had to make their way over to this side of the world.
That's right.
All right, so now somebody get Isaiah 25:7. And the reason why this stuff isn't taught to you in your elementary schools or in your school systems or college and none of that is because of the fact that Esau, the so-called white man, is beginning with them so-called Jews, the Amalekites. They don't want anybody to find out about this truth. Yep. That's why they're paying guys to bring out certain false information to throw people off that are starting to wake up to the truth. Because the truth has already been out. That's what it wasn't until around, I believe it was like the 1990s, that they started bringing out that the Moabites over there in China, that they're the Israelite, one of the 10 lost tribes. The Japanese over there in Japan, they're the lost tribes of Israel. The Hungarian, or whoever,
Everybody but the tribes.
Yeah, everybody
but the tribes.
And then, you could figure at least throw somebody
One of the native,
or
Brazilian,
Cuban or somebody, or a
yeah.
Native American Indian.
Yep.
None of that.
Yep.
And that was something that was pushed out because that the majority of people, they look at National Geographic as an authority. Even though they're not authorities, but they look at them as authorities.
Yep.
So they know if they put information out there, people are going to believe that shit. But you know what? It's only going to work for those that the Lord don't want. And we keep saying it. So you got that real quick?
Yes, yep. Isaiah chapter 25, verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people.
Right, that's the Most High. He will destroy in this mountain. What mountain? America. The covering. What's that covering? That matter of fact, somebody get Job 9:24. The covering is that veil that the so-called white man has set up over the whole world to lie to them, to lie to people about the nationality, but really, to really get down to the nitty-gritty of it, is to lie to people of who the Israelites are today.
Exactly.
And the main thing is that the Most High and Yahweh Shai and the angels are black men. But underneath that, you know, outside of the names of the Most High and Yahweh Shai, who the tribes are. That's what troubles these devils the most. That the real Israelites wake up to the truth. So, and after you get that, and then Job 9:24, get Psalms 83. Go ahead, brother, read that.
Job chapter 9 verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
Right. So it came a time of appointed and a period of time, excuse me, that the Lord gave this earth that you see today into the hands of Esau, because there was a time where different empires ruled the so-called known world at the time, but nobody ever ruled over the whole earth. You got a sword on you, brother? Get Daniel 4:17. There was never a time where a nation ruled over the whole entire planet Earth. But what happened is that there were certain periods of time where the people that did rule, they ruled over the so-called known world,
Right.
which was considered to be civilized, the so-called civilized world. But they didn't rule over the whole entire planet Earth as they do today. And the Lord gave that into their hands because there's certain periods of time that the Lord puts up one nation and takes down another.
Right.
Puts up one nation and puts down another.
Yeah, because if I could go a little further into it too,
Yeah, okay.
what the elder around us saying, like basically America, the so-called United States, they got their flag all throughout the world.
Right.
In other countries, they got bases, they got no, they got airs.
And that's why they're going down. That's why when they said that flag was still there,
Yeah.
the flag of the Olympics fell.
It fell. Right, which is indicative of what's happening to America. America is falling. And see, back then, like when Artaxerxes, for instance, when they were ruling, he didn't have no flags over in his land that's called North America.
Right.
Only provinces he controlled were the ones that were known, that area over there in the east.
Europe.
Right, in Europe.
That's what he controlled.
Which was the known world.
Yep.
But the United States they controlled the whole world. Africa, Australia, Antarctica. They telling polar bears where they could swim and fish at, man.
Right. Yep.
That's how much control these motherfuckers got.
That's right.
All right.
And when they got control and they tell you that this airspace is private,
Right.
then you know you got a problem. Because if you go up into space, you're supposed to, that's just
That should be free.
free.
That's supposed to be. The heavens is supposed to be the Most High.
Then these devils, if you let these devils, they'll take over everything.
And guess what? And if you go by that airspace, they're gonna shoot you down. And not only the air, guess what? Even out there in the sea.
Yep.
A week or two ago, there was a regular boat. Somebody's boat was getting too close to a Navy ship, and they ordered it one time. They said turn around immediately.
Right.
And they didn't hear them over there. They kept going and they fired up on the boat. It was just a regular boat that somebody was just driving, and they just shot the motherfucker out the water, man.
Hey, that's how the devil operates.
You know.
That's the name of it.
Yeah.
But go ahead, read that, Daniel 4.
Daniel 4:17.
Oh, matter of fact, so like it, read that.
Job 9:24.
Yeah.
Job chapter 9 verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
Right. So who's ruling today? Esau, because Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. So now, before you read on, jump back over here.
Daniel 4:17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men.
Right, so the Most High is the one that's ruling. You didn't rule because you were so big and bad and you had all this power. The Most High gave you that power. The Most High gave you that technology. He said knowledge will increase. The only reason why you're ruling is because the Most High already prophesied it, and he said that he's not a man that he should lie. If he speaks a word, it must be fulfilled. Otherwise, the Most High would be a liar, and he's not a liar. So go ahead.
That's right.
It says that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men.
Right, this is the kingdom of men, and the Most High is the one that's overall ruling. That's why it says in Romans the 13th chapter that you have to be subject to the higher powers, which is who? The Most High.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And giveth it to whomsoever he will.
And he'll give it to whomsoever he will. Didn't we just read that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked? So who's ruling today? The so-called white man, which is Esau. So the reason why they're ruling is because the Most High gave them that rulership. Go ahead.
And setteth up over it The basis of men.
And who's the basis of men? Beginning with the Amalekites, them so-called Jews, them gutter rats, them scumbags. You know, those are the Amalekites. Those are the basis of men.